Welcome, my bountiful friends. Make sure you practice your swimming and navigation skills. Decline accepting secret letters from deposed emperors and give your closest friends the side eye, because today we're going to be delving deep into Alexandre Dumas' epic adventure classic, The Count of Monte Cristo. We have massive injustice, a hero imprisoned in an opposing castle, a daring escape, and a quest to regain his place in society and punish the wicked villains who wronged him. This novel takes the reader on an incredible journey of highs and lows, a novel that grabs the reader and gets them rooting for the denouement. But how did this book come to be? What's its story, its star, its impact on literature, and how does it fare today? I'll be diving deep into The Count of Monte Cristo. As always, there will be as many spoilers as there are targets of Dante's Revenge, and I will be voicing my subjective opinions as if I'm protesting my innocence as I'm incarcerated in a remote fortress. There will also be an abundance of extra bonus bad pronunciations along the way. You have been warned. The Count of Monte Cristo was written by Alexandre Dumas in collaboration with his frequent assistant Auguste Maquet. It was first published as a serial in the French newspaper Journal de Débat between 1844 and 1846, before being released as a full novel in 18 volumes. The story was inspired by real historical events and an account from Memoires historiques tirées des archives de la police de Paris, 1828, by Jacques Pouchet, which detailed the case of François Picot, a shoemaker who was wrongfully imprisoned, later escaped, acquired wealth, and sought revenge on those who betrayed him. Incredible. Dumas, known for his adventurous storytelling, expanded the premise into an epic tale filled with betrayal, imprisonment, revenge, and redemption. He infused the novel with themes of justice and fate while incorporating elements of historical fiction, including references to the Napoleonic era, political intrigue, and the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy. Maquet assisted with research, outlining, and drafting, but Dumas provided the final creative vision and embellishments. The novel reflects Dumas' signature style: fast-paced action, dramatic twists, and intricate plotting. It also echoes themes from his other works, particularly The Three Musketeers, which was published around the same time. Upon its release, The Count of Monte Cristo was a massive success, appealing to readers with its blend of adventure, romance, and moral complexity. Its serialized format kept audiences eagerly awaiting each installment, and its eventual book publication solidified its status as one of the greatest adventure novels of all time. The novel was quickly translated into multiple languages, spreading Dumas' fame internationally. We get a great spread of characters in this novel, a whole variety of gender and ages, nationalities and professions, which makes for a nice change. There are too many to list in this video, but I will focus on the main ones. So first off, we have Edmond Dante, otherwise known as the Count of Monte Cristo. He is our main protagonist. He starts the story as an honest, competent and likeable individual who is on the cusp of success, before the jealousy of those around him make them conspire in his downfall. Wrongfully imprisoned, he duly escapes, finds a hidden treasure, and enacts revenge on those who have betrayed him. Ultimately, he forgives some of his enemies, rewards those who were kind to him, and sails away with Haydée, leaving his fortune to his friends. Fernand Mondego, who later becomes the Count de Morcerf, is Dante's love rival. He's also the main villain of the story. He betrays Dante to gain status, and because he's jealous of Dante's life and success. He becomes a wealthy nobleman, but is later disgraced when his treachery is exposed. He then commits suicide. Mercedes Mondego is Dante's fiancée, but she ends up marrying the arch-villain Fernand Mondego after believing that Dante is dead after his arrest for treason. She later realises her husband's betrayal, and she leaves him to live a humble life in a convent. Danglars is a jealous shipmate of Dante who conspires to have him imprisoned. He becomes a wealthy banker, but is later ruined by Monte Cristo during his epic manipulations of finances. After being held captive and starved, he is released, but his fate afterwards is unknown. Gerard de Villefort is the corrupt prosecutor who condemns Dante to protect his own interest, namely his father. Monte Cristo orchestrates the downfall of his entire family. His wife poisons their son, and after going mad, he is left alive but broken, which is pretty dark. Caderousse is a greedy tailor who passively allows Dante's betrayal and later turns to crime. He is also responsible for assisting in Dante's father's death by starvation, which again, very dark. He is ultimately killed by Benedetto while trying to rob Monte Cristo. Abbe Faria is an Italian priest who has been imprisoned in Chateau d'If. He was a powerful figure in Italian politics before his downfall. He becomes Dante's mentor in prison after he accidentally breaks into Dante's cell in his own bid to escape from the Chateau prison. They both unite and then attempt to tunnel out together, during which he educates Dante's and reveals the location of the treasure of Monte Cristo just before he dies from old age, because he's been imprisoned for about 15 plus years. But he has a profound influence on Dante's transformation as a man. Haydée is a Greek princess rescued and adopted by Monte Cristo. Her father was Ali Pasha, who was murdered by Fernand Mondego, the main villain. Fernand sold Haydée and her mother into slavery. She assists Dante's in his revenge by providing proof of Fernand's treachery. Judy falls in love with Dante's and they leave together at the end. Bertuccio is a Corsican smuggler who has serious beef with the prosecutor Villefort. Dante learns of this and then hires him as a servant. In short order, he becomes Monte Cristo's loyal agent and plays a key role in the revenge against Villefort. Jacopo is an Italian smuggler who Dante encounters immediately upon his escape from Chateau d'If. The two sail together, and Dante learns to fight, navigate and survive with him. The two form a friendship, and Jacopo assists Dante in retrieving the treasure from the island of Monte Cristo and then helps him in his revenge schemes. So kind of like a loyal smuggler, which I'm sure is dead common even back then. So Edmond Dantes is a young and successful sailor, and he's on the verge of a bright future. He's engaged to Mercedes and about to be promoted to captain too. However, his success sparks jealousy amongst his so-called friends. His rival, Fernand Mondego, desires Mercedes, while Danglars, a fellow sailor, resents his promotion. Together they conspire with Caderousse, a greedy tailor, and frame Edmond as a Bonapartist traitor. Gerard de Villefort, a corrupt prosecutor, covers up the truth to protect his father and has Dantes imprisoned in Chateau d'If. In prison, Dante subsequently meets Abbe Faria, an old priest who breaks into his cell in his own attempt to escape. The Italian ex-politician then educates him in all manners of subjects, basically gives him the background to become the Count, the educated man that he will be. And whilst they both try to tunnel out to the seawall, unfortunately Faria dies of old age, but before he dies he gives Dante's a map, and that map reveals the location of the hidden treasure, the lost treasure that's on Monte Cristo, a small Mediterranean island off the coast of Italy. After 14 years, Dante manages to escape by switching places with Faria's corpse, which has been sewn up into a sack. And when it's dumped overboard into the sea outside, he then cuts himself loose and swims to freedom. He then finds the treasure and reinvents himself as the wealthy and mysterious Count of Monte Cristo. Disguised and using multiple aliases, he returns to Paris and then executes his intricate revenge plot. He ruins Danglars financially first, and then exposes Fernand as a traitor and murderer, leading to Fernand's disgrace and suicide. And he orchestrates Villefort's downfall by revealing his past crimes, which then drives him to madness. He also manipulates Caderousse, whose greed leads to his death at the hands of the criminal Benedetto, Villefort's illegitimate son. Amidst his revenge, Monte Cristo rewards those who remain loyal to him. He ensures that Maximilien Morel, the son of his former employer, finds happiness with Valentine de Villefort. He also saves Mercedes and her son Albert from ruin, though Mercedes ultimately retreats into a life of solitude. As his vengeance nears completion, Monte Cristo remembers the words of Abbe Ferrara about showing mercy and humanity, and he also realises that his quest has caused a heck of a lot of collateral damage, and this weighs heavily on his own conscience. And via this he learns the importance of mercy. And he ends up by leaving his fortune to Maximilian and departing with Heidi, the young woman who has grown to love him, and they finally find peace beyond revenge. The novel is expansive, fast-paced, and blends elements of historical fiction, adventure, and romance. Yet at its core, it is a revenge tale of almost operatic proportions. The novel's style and atmosphere contribute greatly to its enduring appeal, marked by a rich narrative voice, vivid descriptions, and an intricate plot structure that seamlessly shifts between grandeur and intimacy. Dumas employs a third-person omniscient narrator, allowing the story to unfold from multiple perspectives. This broad scope helps the novel cover a vast array of settings, from the dark prison cells of Chateau d'If to the lavish ballrooms of Parisian aristocracy. The prose is fluid, engaging, and heavily dramatic, often incorporating cliffhangers that keep the reader on edge. Dialogue plays a crucial role in the novel's storytelling, often resembling a theatrical play where characters exchange witty, philosophical, or highly emotional speeches. Dumas' style is also rich in foreshadowing, hinting at grand revelations long before they occur. This method adds to the suspenseful, almost fate-driven tone of the novel, as if the characters are caught in an inescapable web of destiny. Another notable aspect is the use of irony. Monte Cristo, once a naive sailor, becomes an enigmatic, all-knowing force of vengeance, manipulating those who wronged him with a level of cunning that borders on the supernatural. His controlled, meticulous nature contrasts with the intense emotions and chaos he secretly orchestrates, creating a dramatic tension throughout the story. The atmosphere of the Count of Monte Cristo drifts dramatically as the story progresses. The early chapters are oppressive and bleak, mirroring Dante's suffering. The grim, suffocating setting of Chateau d'If reflects his despair, and Dumas' descriptions emphasize the darkness, cold, and isolation, heightening the reader's sense of dread. His escape, therefore, feels like a triumphant rebirth, plunging the novel into a new phase, filled with intrigue and power. Ultimately, The Count of Monte Cristo is a novel where revenge, justice, and redemption intertwine, and Dumas' dramatic style ensures that every moment is rich in tension, intrigue, and spectacle. Its shifting atmosphere, from the claustrophobic despair of prison to the dazzling yet sinister world of Parisian high society, makes it one of the most immersive and compelling adventure novels ever written. Alexandre Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo explores themes of justice, revenge, fate, redemption, and the limits of human control over destiny. These themes give the story its depth, making it more than just an adventure tale. So let's take a closer look at each of these in turn. The main theme is justice and revenge, contrasting the two. So the story starts with Dante is wrongfully imprisoned, and he subsequently dedicates his life to punishing those responsible. However, in pursuit of his revenge, he actually utilizes the legal system itself. He manipulates it to punish those that had transgressed him. But he also employs illegal means himself, which means that his justice goes beyond the legal definitions. It's purely personal, and he'll do almost anything to get his revenge. It's only through the course of getting his revenge that he realizes the unintended consequences of his actions and the amount of suffering that is brought to the innocent, namely the loved ones of the villains, and in some cases they're shared loved ones with him as well. And he realizes the amount of pain and suffering he has caused in pursuit of his vengeance. So he recognizes that ultimately true justice is something that is beyond human perspective and control, and that only the divine can fully judge wrongdoing, and it should be left out of human hands. Fate and free will. The novel explores whether people are ruled by fate or if they can shape their own destinies. Initially, Dante is a victim of fate, betrayed by envious men and condemned without trial. However, after escaping prison and obtaining wealth, he seizes control of his own future. He even plays God, orchestrating the rise and fall of those around him. Yet he learns that his control has limits. His revenge causes unexpected harm, and he cannot force happiness on others. His eventual departure with Hades suggests an acceptance that destiny cannot be fully controlled. A strong theme is that of the power of wealth and identity. The novel highlights how wealth and social status shapes people's lives and perceptions. After acquiring a vast fortune, Dante reinvents himself as the Count of Monte Cristo, using different disguises to manipulate those around him. His new identity grants him power and influence, proving that society values wealth and appearance over character. Meanwhile, characters like Danglars and Fernand, who built their fortune through deceit, fall from grace when their crimes are exposed. The novel questions whether wealth can bring true happiness, or is it a catalyst of misery and unhappiness as people betray friends and acquaintances, and any values or morals that they once held in pursuit of it. Then we have betrayal and loyalty. Betrayal drives the plot, with Fernand, Danglars and Villefort conspiring to bring about Dante's ruin. Their unprovoked treachery contrasts with the loyalty of characters like Maximilien Morel and Abbe Faria. Dante repays kindness with generosity, securing the happiness of those who remain true to him. The novel emphasizes that loyalty and integrity, rather than power or status, determine a person's true worth. Forgiveness and redemption. Despite his quest for revenge, Edmund ultimately learns the importance of mercy. He spares Danglars and recognises that excessive vengeance can make him as cruel as those who wronged him. By allowing love and compassion to guide him in the end, he redeems himself. His final words are wait and hope, and they suggest that patience and faith are the true path to peace, not vengeance. So in conclusion, The Count of Monte Cristo is a complex exploration of a whole host of themes. It's very rich in its thematics. And while it begins as a simple story of revenge, it ultimately champions forgiveness and personal growth, and the realization that true justice lies beyond human hands. Alexandre Dumas was already famous for The Three Musketeers, which was released around about the beginning of the serialization of The Count of Monte Cristo. As previously mentioned, the story captivated audiences with the gripping story of betrayal, revenge and redemption, which contributed to its immense popularity and subsequent publication as an actual book. Critics at the time praised the novel's fast-paced storytelling, rich historical backdrop and intricate plot, though some dismissed it as mere entertainment rather than serious literature. Dumas used multiple identities disguised as an elaborate revenge schemes, which was seen as highly dramatic, sometimes even excessive. However, the novel's universal theme of justice, fate and morality resonated deeply with its audience. In later years, literary scholars analysed The Count of Monte Cristo as a work that transcends adventure fiction. Some critics compared it to classical revenge tragedies such as those by Shakespeare, while others noted its philosophical and moral depth. Some have debated Dante's transformation, questioning whether he remains a hero or becomes morally compromised by his relentless pursuit of vengeance. Despite some critical skepticism regarding Dumas' dramatic storytelling and prolific use of ghostwriters, including Auguste Maquet, who contributed to the novel's development, the novel has remained one of the most beloved works of 19th century literature. The novel's enduring legacy is evident in its influence on literature, film and popular culture. It has been translated into numerous languages and remains a staple of world literature. Its themes of betrayal, retribution and redemption have inspired countless adaptations and reinterpretations across different media. There's about 4 or 5 English versions of the film and countless foreign ones besides. Many later writers have drawn inspiration from The Count of Monte Cristo. Its intricate revenge plot influenced numerous crime and thriller novels, and its theme of a protagonist returning from obscurity to reclaim justice has been echoed in works as diverse as The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester and V for Vendetta by Alan Moore. The novel has set a precedent for epic storytelling, blending historical fiction with personal drama. As with any very old book, time has moved on, both in language and in societal values. On the former point, The Count of Monte Cristo holds up remarkably well. The prose is clean and precise in comparison to many similar books of the 19th century, and it avoids a lot of the verbose, flowery language that was so de rigueur of that time. Another thing that stood out for me was the somewhat contrived plot elements, and even the base of the characters. I think the characters don't really hold up. The novel presents itself as kind of a ripping yarn and asks the reader to suspend their belief, because one of the things that occurred to me was that it starts off with his old friends, his mates, who they were effectively careerists, and they eventually were shown to be crooked and unreliable, and that's how he came about his downfall. Yet, bizarrely, he then becomes a member of the nobility, whilst actually getting the help of smugglers to locate and transport his money, the treasure, without them slitting his throat. So basically it's saying that his new mates, who are all criminals, are actually the honest ones. So that may be true, I don't know, but it's kind of odd when you think about it. So if you don't stop and think about the characters, then the story is simple and compelling, and therefore manages to transcend the constraints of its time. At first glance, it appears to be a very standard 19th century adventurous romp, with the usual switching between exotic locations, strong villains, and dramatic scenes centered on the daring do of the protagonist. But it eventually shows itself to be a much deeper dive into the moral complexities of the human soul. It taps straight into human emotion and the reader's worst fears. The protagonist is betrayed by his colleagues and friends alike, and fitted up for a crime that he didn't commit, and is subjugated to prolonged brutality in prison, while his beloved is stolen from him, and his father is devoid of his financial support and dies from hunger in his absence. His once successful life is suddenly and horrifically stolen from him, and is replaced with a world of misery. We feel his pain and hope for his escape and subsequent victory. This feeling peaks when he locates and obtains the treasure trove on Monte Cristo. We anticipate his revenge on those that wronged him. But once the acts of vengeance begin, it soon becomes uncomfortable reading, as we become aware that we are being invited to enjoy negative acts. It's the classic two wrongs don't make a right territory. And once we learn of the collateral damage of his machinations, we soon yearn for Dante just to take the W he's been handed and just move on and let God and the fates deal with the wicked. Indeed, this is perhaps the hidden message of the novel. We all enter into this life as innocent and naive as Edmond Dantes. But after experiencing betrayals of colleagues and loved ones, the hardships of life and the fickle hand of fate, we become brutalized and transformed into cynical souls who trust no one and thirst for revenge against the world. Our path to redemption is not to fixate on what has occurred to us, but to learn instead the art of forgiveness, which in turn gives one true freedom from the debts and burdens of the past. So what are your thoughts on this revenge classic? Which moment did you enjoy, and which did you find the most profound or uncomfortable? Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon for more deep dives into the world of literature. Until next time, keep reading, and remember, if your friends and colleagues stitch you up, wreck your life and imprison you in a dungeon for 14 years, one-up them by simply locating a lost treasure trove, proclaim yourself to be a member of the nobility, and simply move on. Wait and hope. Au revoir.